Shalom, Apostle Tahar coming back at you with this truth, giving all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shai Ba'Shem Rakah Kodash. And this is going to be called Back to the Basics. And basically what I'm going to be doing is, and this is open to other, apostles, elders, teachers out there, if they want to go into this topic, subject, series, whatever you want to call it. But like I said, I'm going to call it Back to the Basics, because we got to go back. We got to go back to the basics. We going back and forth with different camps and different situations, and you got new people that's coming into this thing that don't understand these scriptures and these breakdowns. Now, Yashawamba, he's the elder of one of the elders of GMS Dallas camp, and he did something on the Cornelius, because that's popping up now. And he said somebody got to do a video. He said he'd probably do a video breaking down that Cornelius is an Israelite, because you got certain Israelite camps that still teach that Cornelius is an Edomite that goes back to the One West days. Anyway, what I'm going to do is, in this Back to Basics video, I'm going to go into the subject of the Great Red Dragon, or the Dragon, I should call it, the Dragon, because you have Israelite groups out there, some of them that really don't know how to break it down. They don't understand what or who the dragon is, and they'll say it's Satan himself, or they'll say it dramatically. The dragon is Satan himself. Or they might say the dragon is the devil himself. Get dramatic about it. But the dragon is nothing but the so-called white man, the power structure, the elite of the so-called white man, going back to during the time of Adam and Eve. I'll say it that, I'll push it out that way. The dragon was back there, and during the time of the Roman Empire, and even up until this time. And the dragon and the beast are interchangeable, because the Roman Empire was a dragon, but the Roman Empire was also the first beast. So the word dragon and beast is interchangeable with the word serpent and the devil and Satan. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Revelation 20. Revelation 20, I'm going to start at the top. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand, which represents our Lord, because he's the authority that can put Satan. When I say Satan, I'm talking about the spiritual demon Satan. I'm talking about the physical counterpart to the spiritual demon Satan, which you know as the white man, which are the Edomites. Second verse, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Now, for you clowns out there that say that the dragon is the devil himself, or the dragon is Satan himself, yes, the dragon is talking about Esau, the Edomites, and their power structure. Let me read the second verse again. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, another name for the dragon, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Now, when did this take place? This took place during the time period of Constantine the Great, during the time period of 325 AD, Anno Domini, which means Anno means year, Domini means of the Lord, to dominion, Lord. And now this is during the time of the so-called Byzantine Empire, Christian Empire. When Jake was already in rulership, but this is when Esau was bound by this great chain, the spiritual chain, and Jake was on top of them. You know, Esau wasn't doing shit. He was just on the bottom getting his ass kicked. And that was a small taste of the kingdom of heaven during the time period of 325 AD all the way up into 1325, 1345 was a key word, into the 1400s. And that's when Esau slowly started to take control and bring Jake down. But it took some time to do it. It took a couple hundred years to do it. But the starting point was around 1345 during that time period. You know, if you want to, I may do a video going deeper into it, but I'm just giving you some general information. You know, you can look up the Renaissance period, the beginning of the Renaissance period, when Esau began to take down or destroy or deface or use a term iconoclasm, which means the defacing or destruction of icons, which is images of so-called black people, which are Israelites, which are actually brown people, and then put up images of themselves. And that started around the time of the mid to late 1300s into the 1400s. Excuse me. So now going back to the second verse, and he laid hold on the dragon, which is Esau and his power structure. That even Daniel spoke about the dragon, the beast, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So there was a point of time where this Edomite had no power. Now, when did he come back into power? During that time period, the mid to late 1300s into the 1400s. 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue with these three ships. Was it the Nia, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, if I got them correctly, but I believe there was a fourth ship, and that's when they established the New World. And that's when they call it. When they came up on this side of Earth, they called this the New World, as compared to the Old World, which was Europe, which is also the bottomless pit. It says, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loose a little season. And that little season, we're at the end of that little season. The beginning of that little season was about 500 years ago. So now let's go back to the second verse. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan. Let's deal with that word serpent. He wasn't just called a serpent, he was called that old serpent. Because that term, the serpent, goes back during the time of the Adam. Now it says here in Genesis 3 verse 1, now the serpent was more subtle. When you look up that word subtle, it means under the web. A web has a thing on it that traps other bugs, but it doesn't trap the serpent or the spider, which they have an oily filament on them that they don't get trapped in their own web. So the same thing with the serpent. It says subtile, meaning under the web, meaning the web can't trap them. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. Now you think it's talking about an actual serpent. As you read down, you're going to find out that it's talking about Esau, but before he was Esau, before he was Canaan, there was a form of a man that came to Eve and beguiled her. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord Yahweh had made. And he said unto him, unto the woman, yeah, hath the Most High said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Second verse says, and the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. Let me jump down to the fourth verse. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. Now I'm going to jump down to the 13th verse. And the Lord, the Most High Yahweh, said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And she didn't eat it with her mouth, she ate it with her mind, and caused Adam to also eat it. Because it wasn't an actual tree. Now, when you go to the book of, when you click on Genesis 3 verse 13, the word beguiled me. He said, and the woman said, the serpent beguiled me. So now let's look up that word beguiled. That's the Hebrew word nashah, which means, and that's a primitive root. It says to beguile, deceive, to be beguiled, to beguile, deceive, utterly, to be deceived utterly. Infinitive. It goes on to say, not using kal, perhaps to err, to go astray, kindred to the verb to forget, from which is formed. Now that's the same word I mentioned, deceive, because let's go to that. I believe that's Revelation 19, if I'm not mistaken. We'll find out. So these guys reading Revelation, the 12th chapter, and it speaks about the serpent or the dragon, and they'll say it's also in Revelation 13. It's in a bunch of places, and they'll say it's the devil himself. It's Satan. It's Lucifer. Which the Lucifer in Isaiah the 14th chapter is talking about Edomites and their power structure. They ain't talking about the spiritual demon Satan. It's not talking about the devil himself. That's why we got to come back and fix their shabby work. So let me see if I can find that. Let me do a word find. Okay, Revelation 19 verse 20. Okay, Revelation 19 verse 20. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast. So the way they're going to give you that microchip is by deception. Now that word deceive goes back to Genesis, the 3rd chapter, when Eve said that she was beguiled. The word there is nasha, which is the same word here in Revelation 19 verse 20. So they're going to beguile you. See, the serpent, which is the spirit of Esau that came as a sort of a man, he talked to the woman, sweet talked the woman, and beguiled her or deceived her into eating that tree. So he didn't put a gun to her head or a sword to her neck or put her up under guillotine. He sweet talked the woman into receiving that to eat that tree. The Lord said, "Thou shalt surely die." The serpent said, "Thou shalt not die." So she went against the commandments of her husband, which he received the commandment from the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, or Yahweh himself. Because Adam was Yahweh Shai. So that word beguiled and deceived is the same word. He said, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image, meaning a part of his system. If you join the army, if you're a police officer, if you're a part of his system, ultimately to remain in this system, becoming a police officer, becoming a ticket writer, working in government business, working at a job which is linked to the government, ultimately you're going to have to accept that chip, which is the microchip, or accept that mark. It said, these both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. So now let's deal with the word deceived. The word deceive is planao, which means to cause to stray, to lead astray, lead aside from the right way, to go astray, wander, roam, to be led into error. So that pretty much says the same thing that was written in Genesis, the 3rd chapter. So now we're going to come back to Revelation 20 and verse 3. And cast him into the bottomless pit, and the bottomless pit, by the way, is Europe, because the beast came out of the bottomless pit. That's how we know that that's Europe. The beast represents, at first, the original beast, which is the dragon, which, like I said, the word beast and dragon are interchangeable, represents the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire, their base was in Italy, but the empire consisted of these European nations. So when the new beast comes on the scene, they're coming out of what? Out of Europe, NATO and the EU. It says, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, because he deceived the nations under the power of the Roman Empire. See, Esau only came into power 2 times, into real power. That was the Roman Empire and this system that we're living in today. Till 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loose a little season, which makes complete sense. It was from the time of Constantine I or Constantine the Great, 325 AD, up until the time of Esau coming into power, and ultimately Christopher Columbus or Cristobal Colon, which is a so-called Jew, and he, certain documents will tell you that he converted to so-called Christianity because they had a thing called the Inquisition led by Torquemada. You can read about that. Put in Inquisition, Torquemada, and it'll tell you how if you didn't accept their form of Christianity, they put you to death. That's why they fought against the Moors. And remember, the Moors, the last stronghold of the Moors was Granada. And the ruler of that time was a man by the name of King Abdul. If I'm saying it correctly, please forgive me if I'm not saying it correctly, because I haven't gone through that history in a while. And that was the last stronghold was Granada, which the Moors were nothing but Israelites. That's why they went down around the same time as the so-called Byzantine Empire. And it was the devil that came into power. It was the dragon that came into power, that old serpent, the devil and Satan, which is not the spiritual demon Satan, which is not the devil himself, or Lucifer himself. You know how Jacob, Lucifer himself. So stop look, just, you want to get this truth, just watch Great Millstone, man. Also known as Magus Mulos. And after that, he must be loose a little season. So he's at the end of his little season of rulership. It says, 4th verse, Revelation 20, verse 4. And I saw thrones and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. That's the kingdom. John saw himself and the rest of the 12 in the kingdom, and in the great multitude in the kingdom. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahweh Shai, and for the word of the Most High, with which had not worshipped the beast. The beast is what? NATO and the EU, this white Esau system. Neither his image, and his image is his system, which comes from Rome. Neither had received his mark, which is the microchip, upon their forehead or in their hands. And that proves you that this is not corporations, because it said that the apostles or the witnesses of our Lord will not accept the mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Yahweh Shai 1,000 years. And that's starting with the apostles, the elders, the disciples, the teachers. So now we're going to go to we're going to go to Daniel, the book of Daniel. Daniel 7. Daniel 7, verse 7. After this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible. Now, when you go to the 6th verse, it says, I don't know if I should go to the 5th verse. I'll go to the 6th verse. Daniel 7, verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, That leopard represents Alexander the Greek. The had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl represent the men that came up with him: Lysimachus, Ptolemy, Cassandra, and what's the other one? Seleucids. It says the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. And I just mentioned the 4 heads that came when when Alexander died at the age of 20, at 32. He came into power at 20, and he died he was stricken with an illness that could not be healed, and he died. He ruled for 12 years and died at the age of 32. Because the Most High brought him on the scene, and the Most High took him off the scene. The Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and he raises up, and he brings down whomsoever he will, and he does it by sickness. I don't care how successful you was. The Most High, or this guy, the Apple guy, what's his name, Jobs. The Most High stricken him with that sickness, and he even went on the herbs. He did everything. That's a so-called Jew. He did everything. The herbs, drinking green smoothies and all that. Hey, but guess what? The Most High said, "You're gonna die," and he died in his greatness. The same thing with Alexander. There was nothing that Alexander could do. Just like Esau in general, there's nothing that the Rothschilds or the super elite can do. The Most High going to take you out when he want to take you out. And you're not going to live a second more. It says, this is your reality. This is the reality that you have to face. 7th verse. After this, I saw in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. This is the Roman Empire. Any Edomite Christian, I don't even want to say theologian. Or you can say theologian, because a lot of these theologians, they know the truth, and some of them don't. Some of them know that America is Babylon. Some of them are clueless, like Vocab No Class Malone. But you have Edomites out there that know that this is talking about the Roman Empire, that know that America is Babylon the Great, that know but won't tell. Don't tell. Inside joke. That they know that they're Edomites. You have certain elite scholars that know that they're Edomites, and they're scared to death because they know they're going to be shackled up with chains. It's just your reality. You have to deal with your reality, man. It devoured and break in pieces, and that's what the Romans did. They devoured nations and break them in pieces, set up provinces and regions, and taxed them, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So that's the dragon right there. That's the dragon right there. So now let's go back to, let's go to Revelation 12. And I'm not going to give you every scripture, give you every detail. I'm just going to give you somewhat of the basics. And you can build off this video. You can do a response off of this video and go even deeper. This is Revelation 12. We're going to start at the top. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. The 12 stars represent the 12 tribes of Jacob, or the 12 tribes of the children of Israel, which Joseph had a dream concerning dealing with the number 12, and his brothers hated him for it. So you can also go into that, which I'm not going to go into. It says, second verse, and she being with child, and the she is not talking about an actual woman. It's talking about the children, it's talking about the nation of Israel, excuse me. It says, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. Now, who was going to be delivered? Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai was birthed from this woman. In particular, he was birthed from a woman named Mary. But he came out the nation of Israel. This woman in the first verse is talking about the nation of Israel. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. Like I said, this is not the spiritual demon Satan. This is during the time period of the Roman Empire. When our Lord was born on the scene, and I believe you can go to Matthew, the 2nd chapter, and you can read about how there was an order given by Herod to kill the babies of 2 years old, because he knew that the Messiah was going to come. It says, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. That represent what? The power structure of the Roman Empire. And maybe in the future I'll do a thing on a lesson on Revelation 17 chapter to go specifically into these 10 horns. The 7 heads, 10 horns, and crowns, 7 crowns upon his head. It goes on to say in the 4th verse, and his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven. Now in the first verse, how many stars were there? 12 stars. Why did it say it took down how many parts? It says, and his tail, the dragon's tail, drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven. What's the 3rd of 12? 3 parts represent Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. You had 12 parts or 12 stars. So during the time of the rule of the Roman Empire, the ancient pagan Roman Empire, they took down the 3 tribes, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. Even though you had some of the other tribes that were part of that stayed in the land, the 3 prominent parts was or stars represented Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So the 12, they were either Judah, Benjamin, or Levi. The Apostle Paul was a Benjaminite, and he tells you that in Romans the 11th chapter. It says, and his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and it cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which is Israel, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And that was an order of Herod the Great that put out an order to get the Messiah, because he was going to be the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So what did the angel Gabriel tell the Joseph and Mary? To flee ye into Egypt, because you had Israelites living in Egypt. And it goes on to say, and she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and that's in the kingdom. And we're going to be joint heirs, so we're going to have a rod of iron with us, and we're going to rule over the nations. And the child was caught up unto the Most High, and then to his throne. That's Yahweh Shai. You can't get around that, because when he was caught up into heaven, he went right to the throne. And it goes on to say, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of the Most High, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And there was war in heaven, Now this jumps up to what's getting ready to happen. That war in heaven, that Michael and his angels, which is Michael the archangel against the dragon. That dragon is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. It's talking about Esau and his power structure. So please get it right, man. Now let's go to, I can pretty much close it on that. Or I can go another 30 minutes. Because I believe I proved my point. Or goes on to say in the 8th verse, and prevail not, and neither was their place found anymore in heaven. In other words, these devils are going to be wiped out, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived. That was said in Revelation, the 20th chapter. That's how we know it's not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. It's talking about Esau, the descendants of Esau, which deceiveth the whole world. Because who's going to deceive you to take that chip? Who deceived Jake into being Christians? Because when you check all the tribes out, for the most part, they're all Christians, whether they're Roman Catholic, Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventist, which all come under the same banner of Roman Catholicism. Because the image of the so-called Christ is that Roman Catholic image that all these other baby religions of Christianity deal with. So Jake is out of their goddamn mind. So they did deceive you to accept Christianity, and they're going to deceive you into taking that chip. And as you read the rest of Revelation, the 12th chapter, it keeps talking about the dragon. As a matter of fact, let me do this here. And this is why we do videos every day. So you can get the understanding. Now, if you don't want to accept it, that's on you. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, let me go to the 14th verse. It says, "And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle," which that literally didn't happen, "that she might fly into the wilderness." That's talking about a great escape. "Into her place." The wilderness represent Africa, because if you go mainly to the western part or the west coast of Africa, those are all Israelites, man. Even today, the people of Ghana, the people of Sierra Leone, the people of the Nigerians, the Senegalese, those are all Israelites. Now you might have some Hamites mingled among them, but those people are Israelites, man. And there's a lot of people of West Africa that are doing great things because that's the spirit of Israel. It says here, "And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness." The wilderness represent Africa. And they fled ultimately to the west, and some were taken into slavery, and a lot were left over here in Africa, into a place. The place represents America, where she is nourished for a time and times and a half a time from the face of the serpent. That's another name for the dragon, So who took care of us? Esau. He brought us over here against our will to serve slavery, but he kept us going. He didn't bring us over here to kill us. He enslaved us, so he fed us. He put us in courted, housed us. And then even today, you got your welfare, your food stamps, your WIC, your Section 8, which subsidize, the devil subsidized us to keep living. Why? Because the Most High set him up to do so. Because if this devil didn't take care of us, we would all die. So the Most High put the spirit on this devil. I'm talking about the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon, Satan, to take care of us for a time. So now this man is getting ready to cut all that off, but the Most High is getting ready to come to deliver us. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. So with that, like I said, somebody can pick up on this and add to this video, because I mean you can keep going with this. You can keep going with this, man. There's so many turns and things you can speak about and go deeper into the history. But like I said, I'm gonna give you this basic information, which really is not basic. This is scholarly stuff that the average Christian, we go over their head. They don't understand Babylon the Great in Revelation. They don't understand the dragon. They don't understand the beast. They don't understand the mark of the beast. Even Israelites don't understand the mark of the beast. They don't understand the dragon, the beast, NATO. They don't understand none of that, man. A lot of these guys just deal with the surface. And I made this as basic as I can, but like I said, anybody that know these scriptures can build on this. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.